Okay, hello chess players. In this video, I'm going to talk about the opening that I ended up abandoning with the black pieces that I regret abandoning. I wish I'd kept it part of my opening repertoire, and I wish I'd kept playing it. Anyways, if you like content like this and want to see more of it, please hit that subscribe button and click our notification icon. So the opening in question is actually an opening that I've done videos on this channel before, and I've gone over the theory of it as sort of an exploration. It's the Nimzo Indian, d4, knight of 6, c4, e6, knight c3, bishop b4, just good old fashioned Nimzo Indian. Now, of course, there's absolutely nothing wrong with the Nimzo Indian, and that's, of course, why I regret abandoning the opening. But I think it's important to first explain why I stopped playing the Nimzo Indian. Why did I, not stick with it? And what that taught me about general improvement in chess and why you shouldn't make the same mistake that I did and abandon this opening. So the reason I abandoned the opening is if you look at the board right now, you will notice an awful lot of arrows and an awful lot of diagrams. Um, Preparing the Nimzo Indian is a nightmare. There are so many different variations that you have to be prepared for. Every move under the sun is possible. Queen b3, a3, e3, knight f3, g3, bishop d2, bishop g5. And then there's all these various responses that you can choose from for black as well, and you have to be familiar with absolutely everything. And when you're playing chess at a master level or above, or when you're playing chess just against good players in general, you're always just terrified that you might just lose the game in 10 or 15 moves, or sometimes even less, without ever really getting a chance to play a move on your own. That's just one of the biggest fears when you sit down to the board to play, is that you might lose the game and never even have a chance to play chess, never have a chance to calculate, never have a chance to, actually, show your opponent your ideas. And it's something that does happen on a somewhat frequent basis, and I've seen it happen to even grandmasters when they start playing the openings for the first time. Depending on the opening, I saw it happen with. I'm going to bring up the board right here. I saw it happen with Duda back in, I think, 2018. It was Grishchuk versus Duda, and it was and actually, to be fair, it didn't just happen with Duda. This particular trap has happened a whole bunch of times. It was in the Petrovs. It went e4, e5, knight f3, knight f6, knight takes e5, d6, knight f3, knight takes e4, d4, d5, bishop d3, bishop e7, castles, castles, and then c4, and then the mega blunder here, this move bishop f5, which is basically a double question mark move for black. And essentially, black basically loses the game almost on the spot after bishop f5, although it's not 100% obligatory. But if after c captures d5, he follows up with queen captures d5, the game is effectively over. And pause the video and see if you can find it, because it's basically just a trap. It's a simple capture. It's bishop captures e4. And in Grishchik versus Duda, Duda just resigned immediately after a short calculation, and of course after seeing the tactic. The point is this bishop on e7 is loose. It's not defended by the king or anything, and that's why the preferred move orders, if you're going to do stuff like this, usually involve the knight coming to c6 instead of castles, or at the very least instead of bishop f5. So you have to be very careful about your move order, otherwise you can lose material. And if you don't totally see the complete justification for this, uh, another example would be like, okay, if bishop takes e4, knight c3 is a fork, and of course, if the queen moves back, we have the same tactic, just so you can see it, like queen c6 takes, rook e1, and then here's the idea. Is we're hitting that queen, and the queen has nowhere that it can move that defends the bishop on e7. So basically black loses a piece. And I mean the tactic itself, it is fairly complicated to miss, because of course bishop takes f3 is still possible, and again, because this bishop on e7 is loose, when you take the queen, they have to take your queen, and you take that bishop with check, and then after king h8, you take their bishop, and again, you're up a piece. So that's the full tactical justification for it. So essentially, I was avoiding the Nimzo Indian for fear that something like this might happen. And I saw it happen to other competitors in other ways as well. One piece of advice that I got many years ago from a guy named Ed Zelkind, who was pretty much one of the big coaches in Minnesota where I was growing up. He coached at one point or another. He coached pretty much every strong player that ever became a master or better in the state of Minnesota. And Ed Zelkind told a lot of his students to learn the open Sicilian because when they get older, it'll be harder to do it. So learn the Open Sicilian now and just play it and just learn it through playing it because when you get older, it's a lot of theory and you don't want to get stuck just having to play the C3 Sicilian because you don't know anything else. And so I saw Ed Zelkind actually play a game once with the white pieces against, no, it was with the black pieces. He had the black pieces against Victor Adler, who had white. And Victor Adler's an international master that lives in the state of Minnesota. And that game continued e4 e6, and it was something like this. And if I'm getting the move order wrong, I do apologize. But I do remember like the gist of the idea was knight f6, queen f6, and then bishop g5. And he missed this idea with bishop g5, and then black plays bishop takes f3. But then after queen d2, his queen is trapped, and he's going to lose a whole queen. It's actually a pretty kind of cute situation. This queen has nowhere to move, and if of course if queen takes d4, like the full justification, that red arrow, bishop b5 check picks up the queen on d4. So basically, at this point, the game is effectively over. And he even said after the game that this is a trap that he'd shown to his students before. This is actually a trap that he'd taught his students, and here he fell for it. And he ends up effectively losing the game in about 9 moves. So this type of thing is a big fear when you're trying to master a new opening like the Nimzo Indian, is you've got all these possibilities sitting in front of you and you're just absolutely scared to death. So of course I still tried to learn the King's Indian and I tried to learn all the theory and I played a couple games with it. One game that I recall was I actually played a game against Tim McCanty. I had the black pieces, and to be fair, like the game went incredibly well. Like I didn't know all of the theory here. I was just kind of thinking through the opening, and I found actually after he played knight f3, I found the absolutely correct positional move. I found bishop f5. Now bishop d3 for white is the regular move here. Instead, I found after knight f3, I found bishop f5. I got a good position. I played a really good game, and I ended up actually winning the game with the black pieces. So the the real regret is okay. I took the plunge. I played the opening. I played it in an important game. I won the important game, and then afterwards, I still abandoned the opening because I was still just really scared about all the stuff that I didn't know about the opening, and I was still really scared that I might lose to some trap in the first 10 or 15 moves. And I do regret not continuing to play it because okay, worst case scenario, you lose a game. That's okay. I mean, it's okay to lose a game, even if you lose a game in a really embarrassing way. Those last two examples that I showed you, there is probably more than a half a dozen, if not a dozen games on my database of people losing to those traps, and not just people like titled players losing to those traps. It happens. If you do fall for a well-known trap, then you're not as in terrible company. So it's not the end of the world, and it is the price of learning a new opening. Is you may occasionally fall for something, and that's just how we learn, and that's how we learn these new openings. And of course, I wish that the Nimzo Indian were in my repertoire right now. I wish that I had added it to my repertoire while I was still an active tournament player, and I wish I'd played it on a much more regular basis. The handful of times that I did play it, I got a good result, and I wish I'd stuck with it and continued to get good results. So, anyways, I hope this helps you decide uh, on trying to play a tough opening and makes you more willing to take those chances and just more willing to take the losses if they happen and just go ahead and go out there and learn something new. Anyways, thank you very much for watching.